that's the big thing. Have you seen the amount they spend on AI?
No.
So like billions that the obviously Meta, all these companies are spending on AI, but they need to increase their revenue. Look at Apple. Like Apple has literally increased the price of their current models of laptops without launching a new laptop, and that's just like, well, that's because of the chip shortages.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's insane. Really, these companies need to get the revenue to fund their AI expansion.
It's crazy because
Yeah.
you think like, surely they were making money beforehand.
Yeah,
I mean, surely they were like doing all right
yeah. But
before.
you must see how much they're spending on AI.
I know, I
It's
can only
crazy.
imagine. I can only imagine. I was listening to a podcast the other day about it and saying like that the biggest limiting or the biggest bottleneck in AI is compute and like power. So like how much power you can do to create more compute.
Well, that's why Elon is actually taking it to space, right? At the moment, it's there's a metric for it, right? There's a cost per certain amount of computing power generated. At the moment, it's still more expensive, but the way it's progressing, there's going to be a tipping point or a break-even point where it's going to be way cheaper in space, and he's already seeing it now. That's why he's launching all the things, sending it to space. Because there you've got, he says all these software guys, all these meta guys are going to learn a harsh reality, like a hardware reality and an infrastructure reality, because he's used to, with Tesla and SpaceX and all that, building infrastructure and building like assembly lines and things like that, production lines. So he understands that later, listen, you can only do it so cheap if you build these data centers because it's land, it's actual building. But then in space, like if you can bring down the cost of actually sending the things to space, then your real estate is free up there, and also you can capture a lot more power from the sun.
I was listening to another podcast about this, and they were talking about. I listened to a lot of podcasts. They were talking about that in space. There's no like governing. There's like no governing or law in space. There's no like.
It's like international waters.
It's like you can just put shit up there, and then it's like if you can afford to do it, you can just put it up there, and then it's like okay, cool. Like, sweet. As long as you cover all like the legalities of actually sending it in Earth, but once it's out in space. There's no law there.
Yeah.
So like I'm thinking like, okay, well when is someone gonna like own the moon or like own the next planet?
Yeah, well,
like who what is the price tag of Mars?
Yeah, well that's why there was a space race.
Yeah,
you know, back in the day. That's why like the big reason. Yeah.
Like what is the price of the moon?
Yeah.
Like who determines that price? Who says that if you don't go up there now and stick a fucking flag in and be like, that's mine?
Well, that's what the guys have been doing.
But I mean,
it's like shotgun, I've been here first, like kindergarten.
I mean, that's kind of how we do things on this planet, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But do you think that like is the way to do? I mean, like surely there's like a better. I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like international waters, right? You can't own the ocean.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the laws that they're implementing, because they're only drafting legislation for space now, a lot of the laws that they're implementing in space is kind of based on international waters. You can't own the ocean. But,
which makes no fucking sense at all, because you can do whatever you want in the ocean.
The thing is, we sometimes have this, the thing is sometimes we have this thing of like, everyone's got it figured out. Everyone's just humans.
Yeah.
Everyone just tries to.
That's true.
That is true. Yeah, the people in control, also just a guy and a girl. Trying to figure things out.
No, that's so true. That's so true. I think we also, we don't give like, I mean, as much as I fucking hate politicians, we don't give like the people in charge enough credit, because it's a fucking hard job.
Yeah.
And it's just people. You know, like it's hard enough to run a family. So like your household, now you have to like run like everyone's household. Yeah. It's fucking super difficult.
I think that's kind of the thing when you grow up as well, right? Yeah. You see your parents as these people that figure everything out, and then as soon as you become an adult, you're like, oh, they're just people trying to figure it out. And then that's why, like, obviously your teenage years, you rebel against them, and then as soon as you get older, you're like, okay, I see, they actually didn't do that bad.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That's so true. So how did you start? Like, obviously, like, for those that don't know you, you obviously are a competitive jiu-jitsu practitioner. You run businesses. You are actually a financial advisor. It's your dad's business that you part run. Before we get into all of that shit, like, how did you I mean, I know how you found martial arts, but how did you find martial arts, and like what like led you into like starting martial arts?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, my brother and I, we were living together here in Cape Town. He was doing his articles at Ernest and Young. I just moved to Cape Town, so we just kind of started our adult life, being paid peanuts. So, and uh, he was heavy into UFC. I really enjoyed the UFC as well. Enjoyed martial arts, but Johnny, he knew all the like stats, all the baseball cards. I mean, still till this day, he'll call me and say, "Listen, dude, this is the fight card. Watch it. Like, wake up early for this one. Don't just watch the main event." And he'll give me like a rundown of every single fighter. So that was him, and we actually called around and did some research of like where's the best place, and Madfit came up. A few of our mates are heavy into martial arts, and they said, "Listen, Madfit's the place to be." At that time, as I say, we just started our adult life, couldn't really afford a big membership. So I was like, okay, listen, let me dip my toe into this. I went through to Madfit and actually met your mom there at reception and asked her to if I can buy like a 2 week voucher for my brother for his birthday. And then that's my introduction to it. As he started, I thought like, listen, I can't let the younger brother be able to.
What did you
fuck
start
up.
with?
Started with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't let the younger brother be able to fuck up the older
Yeah.
brother. So I was
No.
like, listen, I'm not going to let him do this 2 weeks and then he knows something I don't. So I started. As soon as we started, we cancelled all other gym memberships and just obsessive started with jiu-jitsu. Really, we liked the idea of like obviously being, because at that time we were much smaller. I was probably about 20 kgs lighter.
Yeah, we all were.
Yeah, and I like the idea of the smaller man being able to control this bigger person. The fact that it's also just it checks so many boxes because first of all you meet people from all walks of life, um, and you all have this one hobby in common. So you check that box of like this is your social as well. It's obviously a great workout, but then there's also a form of like meditation to it, right? Because when you're on the mat and you know this yourself as well, like you don't think about your family, your business, anything else. You're just thinking about the technique that you're learning. And that's one of the coolest aspects of jiu-jitsu. You get that hour and a half that's just for yourself. Your mind's nowhere else. And no, we were hooked. And yeah,
I
that's
think
how
that's
we
like a
got
common
into it.
theme, right?
Yeah.
Especially in jiu-jitsu. I feel like jiu-jitsu is the most like addictive of all the like martial arts.
Yeah.
Like from running a business, you see like people like start boxing, they enjoy it, then they like slack off, they come back. With jiu-jitsu, if someone like enjoys it, they're just like hooked.
Yeah.
I can't get over it.
I mean, I've been in jiu-jitsu now. I've been doing jiu-jitsu now for 6 years. It's like body chess that we always call it, right? I'm still learning every day. I'm figuring new things out now in this week on the mats. With boxing, I feel like, I mean, I've done some MMA, I've done some Muay Thai and some boxing as well. After a few months, you get a certain level of competence, and to get to the next level of competence, you kind of like there's a big leap. You can kind of plateau in striking, just in my experience. Where with jiu-jitsu, it's always figuring things out. And I mean, yourself, you'll know the day you became a black belt is also the day you realize, listen, you'll be learning forever.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. It's also the most difficult martial arts to get in and stay in, because I always tell beginners when I coach them, listen, you're going to be a ragdoll for the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Everyone knows more than you. But then there's going to be one day where someone else comes in and you like, oh, this shit actually works.
Yeah, the trial guy.
Exactly. And that's when you realize, aha, like it works. So it takes longer with jiu-jitsu to become competent than it does with, like, let's say, striking. But once you do get it and you're hooked, it's a lifelong thing.
Yeah. I mean, I always whenever I talk about this, I always say like with jiu-jitsu specifically, or grappling specifically, and then striking, it's like grappling is almost like because it's kind of logical. There's like it's like a maths element to it. It's like 1 + 1 is 2, and like sticks to that as long as you follow the rules, right? Where striking is like way more of like a language, because it's like we can speak English, but the way that we speak it is very different, and the fluidity and our vocabulary becomes like much better, and our timing and everything with speaking becomes very different. And so me and you can learn the same move, but how we implement it is like very, very different.
It's almost like art to an extent.
Very
right?
much, yeah. It's a little bit more creative, because there's there's so many more moving parts, and everything happens at a lot faster pace. And so it becomes, like you said, you can all learn how to jab and punch and hook and all that stuff. And then at some points it gets to that point where there's a ceiling, and then the next ceiling jump will be like creativity or like attributes or something that you have to like take the leap to being like good.
Yeah.
Whereas with jiu-jitsu, it's just literally time.
I've
time
mentioned,
and time.
I've mentioned this to you the other day. I just jumped into MMA sparring again, and I'm like, Don, I just ran out of creativity.
Yeah.
Like the first minute and a half was great, and then after that, I ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
Creatively, I ran out, and then the guys I was going with, they obviously do this stuff, and quickly learned a hard lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, fuck, there's just, and also like the consequences of striking is so much higher. It's like you make a mistake, you get hit, you know.
Yeah.
And like how hard you get hit depends on like the size of the mistake.
Yeah.
You know, and the better the guy is, the smaller the mistake, the more of a consequence there is.
Yeah.
Whereas jiu-jitsu, you can make like a little mistake here, and like against a really good guy, a really good guy, you'll pay for it.
Yeah.
But against most guys, you make a little mistake, you can recover.
Yeah. There's a way back.
Yeah, exactly. And even if a better guy, like for instance, if you make a mistake grappling like a really high level guy, he might end up on your back.
Yeah.
You know, if you make a small mistake against a really high level striker, you get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And it's like the consequences of that are like so big.
Yeah.
What do you think like has changed like over your years of training with like jiu-jitsu? Like what do you think has like changed, like not just mentally but just in general?
So I mean, well, first of all, personally, it's made me a much calmer person. Right. In jiu-jitsu, obviously, I've seen the sport evolve. I've been in it for 6 years, so I haven't been in it for ages. But personally, my game has
6 years is long.
Yeah, 6
for
years.
most people.
Yeah. So initially, it was all about getting the guy down, getting on top, and controlling. And to a big extent, that's still my style. That's still the way I implement my game plan. But I mean, the leg locks in the last few years have really changed and been brought in. So it's something I had to adjust. And
touching on your feminine side a little bit.
Yes, exactly. We were talking about the blue belt blues, right? Yeah. That's the big thing, because I had things that I was dominant in, but then I realized in competition, listen, if I'm just going to stick to those things and not develop the other side of my game, I'm not going to be able to get to the next level. So that's something I needed to from blue belt to purple belt. I needed to be good at everything. I can still have things that I stand out in, but I can't just rely on them too much, because once people figure that out, they're going to have my card. They're going to have my number. They're going to figure that out. But also personally, a big thing, I remember I was blue belt, and you mentioned this to me. At that time, I was dealing with a lot, taking on a lot more responsibility at work, and just working and studying and really kind of, running myself in the red. But you were mentioning to me, listen, you're rolling anxious, and when you speak to me, you realize I'm also anxious in life, because and that was like an aha moment to me, where I'm like, listen, sometimes just take a breath,
just chill.
So that's where lessons on the mat has kind of taught me a lot in life. And I always say, like, I was talking to this beginner yesterday when I was teaching class. I said, listen, dude, there's going to be some times when you're anxious, right? Just calm down, take a breath, and just think of the things that we're learning. But I mean, so that's one of the biggest things, like my anxiety. And also I say, listen, when you start your day with jiu-jitsu, right? Yeah. And you have people trying to choke you out, a strongly worded email is not going to bother you. That's what I was telling the guy. I'm like, this is the best way to start your day.
Your last email.
Exactly. It's like, listen, I'm not going to be worried. If someone calls me and they're upset, I'm like, listen, someone tried to choke me out this morning.
Someone balls my face.
Exactly.
Like an hour ago.
Exactly. So that just puts everything into perspective. I always say, like, I believe us as humans, like, biologically, we're not that far from, I want to say, a hunter-gatherer day. So you always have that fight or flight instinct in you. If you don't have a way to let that out in a positive way, that is going to manifest
100%.
somewhere. Yeah. So if you don't have exercise, whether it be trail running, jiu-jitsu, whatever your thing is, if you don't have an outlet, then that email is going to feel like cheetahs chasing you.
100%.
So I always call these positive stresses. Introduce things in your life that trigger that response, but that's kind of a healthy thing. and whatever your sport is, but you need to have that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always going to be in this like low state of fight or flight, and that increases your blood pressure, and that's the silent killer
Yeah.
of
100%.
people these
Stress.
days. They constantly in this low level of stress.
And it's chosen versus unchosen
Exactly.
stress. So like
Exactly.
unchosen stress kills you.
Yes.
Chosen stress makes you stronger. And so like that chosen like difficult thing that you do, especially like jiu-jitsu, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, it's really, really hard, and it like obviously stays hard. Even like at black belt, it's still hard.
Yeah.
You know, because the crazy thing is like when you get to black belt, everyone underneath you is trying to get you.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if I roll with like a blue belt or purple belt, it's like I want to let them work.
Yes.
But no one lets you work as a black belt. It's like, I'm going to fucking smash you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to try and smash you. So, like, every round is hard.
Yeah.
Every single round is a hard round.
Yeah.
You never have, like, a chill round. Unless, like, the guy is so much below you that you can, like, just control him easy.
Yeah.
But he's still going at 100%. So, anything that does happen is 100% of his effort. And it's like, so you're always, like, under attack. And so, like, it never really gets easier.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like that with every belt you go up. Because I remember when I went from white belt to blue belt, all of a sudden the guys I was rolling with that's still white belts, now they go way harder because this is the opportunity to tap a blue belt.
Yeah.
And the same thing with purple belts.
Test themselves, see where they are.
Exactly. Now I got my purple belt. Now all of a sudden people are like, Justin's purple belt now. If I can tap him now, I've not tapped a blue belt, I've tapped a purple belt. So that kind of first few weeks or months that you have your new belt,
and what happens is that you go from like blue to purple, and the guys that you're rolling with that were higher than you now go even harder.
Yes.
Because they have to. They have to step up the level now to match your level. Because your level's now increased. So you're like, oh, when I was rolling as a blue belt, it was like nice. You know, I could like make a mistake here and not get punished for it. Now it's like your purple belt, especially if you're competing pro. Yeah. Now you can't make a mistake because now you're gonna get punished for it every single time. It's like what happened from that step to that step.
Yeah.
It's I love that sort of hierarchy of jiu-jitsu. Not because like I do think hierarchy in life is important. It is important. You need to know where you stand in life and in work and in relationship stuff. You need to understand where you stand and where you fit in a ecosystem.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I think what happens is we see a lot of people that don't know where they stand and they become insecure. And then what does insecurity become? It becomes like a dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, you become like this person that no one wants to actually be around because you don't know where you stand. Then you come into jiu-jitsu and you get humbled like quickly, and you're like, oh, that's where I stand here.
Yeah.
I stand here.
Yeah.
Like you finally get that like acceptance of like, oh, okay, here I'm like at the bottom barrel. You know, this guy, I'm the fucking CEO of this company. This guy's like a personal trainer. He just wiped the floor with me, and there was nothing I could do about it. Okay, so perspective, you know, I'm not king dingling everywhere I go. And I think that's like super important. Like I think like learning how to lose in those moments, like will teach you more than like, you know, being a big strong guy and fucking everyone up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's just like
100%. And I mean, sometimes it's the opposite, right? Where you come in as a young guy, because I mean, I came in my 20s. I've always been working out and active and fit and strong. And in jiu-jitsu, we always say you use what you have. That's why like the guys that are fit and strong, and especially like ex-rugby players, when they come in, it's a bit like spazzy, you know, because they use their brute force and strength and they don't have technique. And then you'll have a guy that's like either a doctor or engineer or business owner that's in his 40s and he's just able to completely control you. Yeah. So that also puts things in perspective, because this guy's much older than you, but and you see like some guy with a dad bod and he's just absolutely smashing you.
Yeah.
So that also that's a big thing I realized in jiu-jitsu. You never know who's trained. And also when you take it out into like a social life, because obviously my social life looks completely different than what it did in my 20s. But I mean, in my 20s, I went out to bars and things like that. There's an element, brandies, and I mean, there's an element of insecurity, right? If someone looks at you, like you feel like you have to stand up for yourself, but that's actually like that's rooted in insecurity, right? And that's, you get yourself into these sticky situations because you're engaging with something that's not worth engaging. As soon as you trained, your ego is humbled. So it's like, oh, someone said something or looked at me or whatever. Listen, if my wife's safe and no one else is My ego, I'm not worried to prove myself.
Yeah.
So then you actually get to this level where you de-escalate things. And that's one of the big things I've seen in myself as well, where I'd always feel like, oh, this is injustice. This guy's being an asshole. I have to stand up to that guy. And then later you realize, listen, that was just ego talking.
Yeah,
You weren't really being just, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I was exactly the same when I was younger.
Mm.
Even though I was doing martial arts, you know, I was, I guess, because you're young, so you don't know. You know, you don't learn the lessons until you learn the lessons. But it's the same thing, you know, you think like everything's a challenge and everyone's trying to get you, and you're like, you fucking like just like hungry to fight everybody. It's just like so stupid. And then as you get older and you like learn the lessons, you start learning the lessons like, okay, like some things aren't that important to like fight about. And you slowly, I'm still working on that. But I guess that's like it's like almost like delayed gratification, right? So you like you know like, okay, this right now, is it worth doing versus like the consequence of what happens afterwards? And I guess that kind of like is basically what your business is, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
100%.
basically what your business is. Like like what's the biggest mistake that you see everyone making? Now I know personally when I was young and I first started like making some money fighting, retarded. It's the best way to describe how I worked with my money. What is the biggest financial mistake you see people make?
I mean, it's so simple. It's literally, if you see, it's spending more than you earn.
Yeah.
Literally, it's as simple as that, right? There's other things, there's nuances, there's small little things, but those are small little things you can tweak. The biggest thing is people spending more than they earn, and people kind of going blindly into commitments. We call it like lifestyle creep, right? Especially if you live in Cape Town, every year the rent goes up, everything goes up, and I mean, then you get the bigger place, you start the family, you start all these things, and it just increases your expenses. Now, it's not, I want to say Americans are a bit worse when it comes to like spending, because they just spend money.
Credit cards, baby.
Yeah, exactly. If we look at budgeting, most of my clients, it's not that they're spending money on getting bottle service at a club. There are some people like that, but it's most of the time just spending a lot on the needs aspect. And you have to have that tough conversation with yourself. You know, listen, if you're earning this much, maybe listen, I can't afford a 3-bedroom house right now. Maybe a 2-bedroom apartment. You know, you have to understand where you are.
Yeah.
Similar in the fight game. You know, understand where you are and really just work according to that. One of my clients, a few of my clients that have been the most successful is not the clients that earn the most, because I've got clients that earn 200K plus, but they spend 300K plus. And then I have clients that they earn well, but they live as if they earn 10 to 20K less. So they always have that buffer. And these clients set themselves up very quickly. When I say very quickly, it's not going to be in 6 months or so, but 5 years goes a lot quicker than you think. And just by being disciplined and implementing these systems, basic things like don't get into bad debts and basically, spend less than you earn. If you do that consistently over years, it can really change your life, because from there you can set yourself up to really either put something down on a property and start accumulating wealth. And from there, there's this exponential curve. It's like a snowball effect, right? And then later you're in a position where you're just so far in front of your peers that, and it's because you've set yourself up properly.
Yeah, I've heard the saying, like, once you make your first million, the second million is quick.
Yes.
It's easier. So it's like once you like set yourself up the first time, the next time rolls over a lot easier, which is kind of what you're saying. So you're basically saying like, it's not really an income problem.
No.
It's always a spending problem, right? And that's why people struggle nowadays, right? I've been having this conversation more often than I should, especially because you see, like with Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire and all that stuff, and like people hate on it. I'm like, but you gotta understand, his actual money isn't in his bank or in his pocket. It's in assets, because he was smart and he went and he or shares and he invested in the right things. It's not like he's just got like $1 trillion in his bank account. Like, you know, like it's not the reality of what's going on. And he's had to be disciplined in not spending, you know, making sure that the money he spends, that he does spend, will bring him more money. What what do you think is like the number one thing people struggle with, like in terms of um what they spend their money on?
I think convenience, to be honest. It's that when
Uber
you,
Eats. Uber
yeah,
Eats.
that's it's
I
been a
deleted that shit off my phone because I was like, at one stage, I was
yeah.
like, I swear to God, I order Uber Eats every day. I was like,
Yeah.
no, no,
And you understand it also, life is busy.
no.
I think us as South Africans, I saw a stat the other day, we actually sleep less
Yeah.
than any other country, right? So it's not that South Africans are lazy or don't work hard enough. So I do understand at the end of the week, listen, it's been a long week. Let's get the Uber Eats on that Friday
Yeah.
night. But these convenience things, getting the coffee at every single place that you go to, these things creep up. But the nice thing about it is that technology is at a place where it's much easier to actually monitor these
Yeah.
things. I've done an exercise for myself recently where I just put everything into an Excel sheet and see, listen, where am I spending? And then you have to create certain, like, emotional I want to say emotional attachment to things. If you understand that, listen, every time I buy something here, is it worth this amount, right? 3 Uber Eats means maybe, I don't know, 5 Uber Eats means a weekend away.
Yes.
Do I rather want to have a weekend away, or is this convenient meal worth it for me? So,
Yeah.
so it's like calorie tracking, basically, right?
Yeah.
I always compare it to that. If you just blindly eating and working out, and people come to you, coach, I don't understand why I'm not losing weight or like getting fitter and all that, but they're going into it blindly.
Yeah.
Do this for like a month or 2 months. Let's say for
Lifestyle
diet.
audits, basically.
Exactly, yeah. So like for diet, you do that calorie tracking. After that, you don't have to continue to do it because you've got a good idea. Same thing with budgeting. Maybe if you see that, listen, my spend is getting out of control and I don't know where my money goes, take a month or so where you actually look at every single rand and cent you spend, right? And then like kind of audit that. And then after that, you have a good idea of where your money goes.
I remember doing, what year was it? It was a while ago. And I remember I had to you do your tax.
Yeah.
And so you do like a self audit.
Yeah.
And you are like, what the fuck am I doing? That's what I was like, okay, no more Uber Eats. I'm deleting that. No more of these stupid subscriptions.
Yeah.
None of this shit. I was like, how am I spending that much money on subscriptions and Uber Eats? Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Like
yeah.
like you said, it's a weekend away.
Yeah. It's a death by a million cuts, right? Because I mean that's 200 rand for Netflix isn't much, but now you have Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon,
Disney, Showmax,
ESPN,
DSTV.
exactly. Now all of a sudden you're spending 2.5K on subscriptions.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that audit, but also something you mentioned in, I think it was your second episode, where you mentioned like fighting systems and techniques, right? And I thought that relates a lot to finances, because you can have the coolest technique and the best technique, and how I would relate that to finance is clients calling me about SpaceX. They all want to invest in SpaceX, and that's like kind of the technique is the thing you want to invest in. But if your system isn't correct, if you want to now invest in SpaceX, but dude, you're on the verge of bankruptcy. No, get your emergency fund in place. Don't worry about. You can have the best investment like a retirement annuity, right? It's tax efficient. It's a great investment to be in. But if you're sitting with a mountain of debt, maybe put a pause on the retirement annuity. And that's something that all financial advisors won't tell you because they just want to sell you RAs. Maybe put a pause on that and deal with this mountain of shit that you've built up first. And then from there, start with a clean slate. You need to have these systems in place before you implement the techniques. That's yeah.
So as a system, like what does what does budgeting look like? How would you, if you had to, okay, here's a young fighter, he's starting to make money, or a young person starting to make a bit of money. How do you design that budget without him feeling like my life is fucking constrained? Now, I personally, I think like this is my mindset with pretty much everything. It's like there's a way to do things hard, like hardcore, where you just go hardcore and you just suffer for like however many years and you reap the rewards. And then there's a way of like flexible.
Yes.
So like the way that I eat is flexible dieting. So I don't diet.
Yeah.
But I'm like a loose, like, fast and loose with my calories,
Yes.
Whereas when I was an athlete, it was hardcore. It was like, this is how you're gonna eat. in camp, and that's the only way you're gonna do it. There's no like treats, no nothing, no fuck all, just boom, like hardcore. What do you think is the most like sustainable way to do that without feeling like, okay, I'm gonna implode?
So there's a few general principles that anyone can apply, and you don't have to go and sit with a financial advisor to really to understand these principles. First of all, try and stay out of high interest debt. You know, that credit card.
Okay.
Credit card is your high interest debt. You've got good debt and bad debt. Good debt is something like a mortgage, right? It's debt, but you are accumulating an asset, right? And the rate is also a lot lower. You get about prime minus 1%. So it's fine. It's not going to run away with you. Just make obviously sure that you can afford your mortgage. But I mean, the banks will sort you out. In South Africa, we've got banks that are quite strict when they lend you money. It's not like in America where it's the Wild West, or used to be before the 2008 financial crisis. But then you've got high bad debt, high interest debt, and that's things like credit cards. Also, whenever you Woolworths clothing accounts, whenever you see that SMS of like your financial freedom is just one click away with this personal loan, stay away from that shit. I've had so many clients that come to me that, listen, I said yes to this personal loan because I needed the 150 or 200K. And for the last 7 years, I've not been able to get out. They fall in a debt trap, which means they pay the interest off, but they never make a dent in the capital, and they don't earn enough to make that dent. And that's when you're in a debt trap. So stay away from that. That's your first kind of principle, right? Second principle, obviously we've covered this, spend less than you earn. But a general nice budgeting principle is the 50, 30, 20% rule, right? Where you spend 50% of your income on your needs, the things you actually need. So that kind of relates back to what we spoke about previously. You know, understand where you are. If you earn this amount, that means you can stay in this type of place. You know, so do that audit, understand where you are, and then spend 50% on your needs. Then 30% on your wants and 20% on your savings. So you still have that 30% of your wants. So you don't feel like, listen, I'm just sitting at home because I can't even go out and have a coffee with the mates. You know, you still have 30% that you can spend on wants. And then by just having these broad categories, it just kind of keeps you in a realistic mind frame of what you can spend. Now, to implement flexibility, remember this can be over averages. So there's going to be times where you're like on holiday or this or that. As long as it averages out, there's going to be like December. We're going to spend more on wants.
And then there's going to be like June to August,
where you dial in. You know, like currently I'm dialing in. You know, because I've got a bit of a holiday coming up. So as long as you average it out, that's a good budgeting tip. And then the third thing I'd say is, and it's one of the most boring things to put in place, is the emergency fund. The first thing when a client comes to me, and they always come to me, especially like young guys, they're like, listen, I want to invest in this stock portfolio and this and that. I'm like, John, listen, if you need new tires, you're going to have to liquidate your stocks. You know, you're not catered for emergency. And I've seen it so many times because the guys are really keen to invest, and they got money. They got money, and they just want to put it into investments. I'm like, listen, if you don't have liquidity and you don't have that buffer, then anything that life throws at you that's unexpected, now you're going to have to withdraw some of your investments. And Murphy's Law works like this. Every time when you need that money is when the markets are down or your investments are down. So just having that buffer is a nice base for your investments. So emergency fund, a good rule of thumb is anything from 1 to 6 months worth of expenses. So not your income, just your expenses. And it all depends on what line of work you're in, right? If you're in a corporate job and they've got sick leave and all of that, and you've got your medical aid, you need less, you know? If you're a business owner, you know, or you're a fighter or this or that, right?
You never know, you get injured, fight your income.
I mean, to give you an example of extreme, I've got a client, he's a pilot, right? Then in COVID, he couldn't fly. So no income for months when he couldn't fly. And he said, listen, he never wants his family to go through that again. So he went and overcorrected, and this man's got a emergency fund of 1.5 years worth of salary. Because he said, if there's anything that ever happens, I lose my my ability to fly, or I lose my license to do a medical
That's what happened with me, bro, in COVID. That was the exact same thing. I went the same, self-correct. I was like, cool, I'm going to just become like an absolute hoarder. You know? Just like not spend any money.
So I mean, that's a big thing. And Thing is, life's going to throw unexpected events at you, right? And that's what the emergency fund is there to cover. Just always make sure when something like that happens, I always say bad luck happens in threes.
Yeah,
You know, it's not just the one thing. Your kid might go to the hospital, and then you've got new tires and this and that. You know, everything always happens at the same time. Make sure you replenish your emergency fund.
Yes.
But I mean, that's one of the most basic things, because when life throws these unexpected events at you, right, you can be a victim of circumstance, and we see that a lot in today's society. Oh no, listen, I'm going through a tough time
Got
because
retrenched
this and
or
that
whatever.
and that and that. Yes, but you have to. The certainty in life is that there's going to be uncertainties.
Yeah,
You
100%.
can plan for it. You don't know what's going to happen, but you can plan for it. And the emergency fund covers your bases.
Yeah, it blows my mind that like people will, if you say to someone like, do you have medical aid? They'll be like, "Oh, of course, of course." It's like, okay, so you got medical insurance, but you don't have your own insurance with your own money
Yeah.
in case something goes wrong.
Yeah.
It's like there's like so that makes logical sense to you.
Yeah.
But if you have a financial hit, you don't have anything to like fall back to.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah, one of the first things that people cancel when they go through financial difficulties is actually their short-term insurance. So it's the things that cover the car and home and things like that, right? So now you're going through financial difficulty, and as I say,
someone drives into you.
Murphy's law, that'll happen as well.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you
Now
need
you're
to cover
fucked.
that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
it's a boring-
expensive.
yeah.
It's expensive problem to fix.
It's a boring thing, because it does mean just every month putting in something, and when I say emergency fund, it can be money in the bank,
Yeah.
or it can be money in like a unit trust investment. But the big thing is it needs to be conservative money. So when I say conservative, into a fund that doesn't have a lot of market exposure, because as I said, like usually the rule is when you need the money, the markets are going to be down. So put it into something that doesn't have a lot of market exposure. It's not going to be the most exciting fund, but you know it's going to be there when you need it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, that makes total sense. So we spoke about like good debt and bad debt. Like, where does vehicle finance, for instance? Because I know that's a South African trap.
Yeah.
I know Oaks love to get their first paycheck and go get their new Ford Ranger
Yeah.
and pay 11,000 rand a month, and they're making 20, and then
Yeah.
maybe they've got like a little bit left for rent.
Yeah, again, if you can keep it in, I'll say like go to the budgeting, right? If you can keep it in, I would say it does fall into your wants category. If you can keep
That
that,
is a want, yeah.
There's an aspect of it that's a want and an aspect of it that's a need, so it does become a bit tricky. But if together it doesn't blow your budget out of the water, you know, and you can still put 20% towards savings and make up for the rest of that once. So it's within the category, it's fine. I mean, I've seen a client where the guy's earning whatever X amount, and he says he can't put his kids on medical aid; it's too expensive. But then his Golf GTI costs him most of his salary.
Yeah.
But that's a non-negotiable, you know. That's it's not going to sell his
Gotta
Golf.
look cool, bro. Come on.
Exactly.
Go drive a
So-
nice car.
Yeah, so it's things like
kids
that.
will be alright.
Exactly. It also depends on what you do for work, right? I mean, some people really actually need a. That's the thing in South Africa. We do travel around a lot, so
Sure, but I mean, you
Yeah.
can get cars for very little.
exactly.
Like very little nowadays, especially like because of like all the like the Chinese cars that are coming
Yeah.
in now, especially like you can get cars for very, very little.
Yeah.
You don't have to get the brand new Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
You don't
Or
need
Hilux,
for the
let's be
Hilux.
honest.
You know what I mean? You don't have to. But
Yeah.
if you can, then cool. But
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't like bankrupt you.
What I would also say, especially on the vehicle side, don't just look at what it's costing you monthly in repayments, right? Look at the insurance, the fuel, all the other things. To give you an example, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that are into overlanding, right? And one of the cars that have been slept on the most is the Porsche Cayenne GTS, right? Because you can pick up a solid older version, but a solid one for about 350, 400K, right? It's not a lot of money for the type of car that it is. But guess what? Every time something breaks, it's going to cost you 80 or 100K.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, listen, what brand am I buying? If I'm buying Mercedes or BMW, services are going to cost more. To fix the car is going to cost more.
Parts.
Tires,
Yeah.
if you maybe get an old BMW X5, right, for a bargain. Dude, guess what? Per tire, that's
25K.
27K. Yeah, exactly. So that's also the thing that I see a lot of times sneak up on people, because they look at the monthly repayment, they're like, cool, I can afford that, but they don't consider anything else.
Mm.
Services are always a surprise for clients. I'm like, dude, you're going to service your car once a year,
Yeah.
you know? So understand that and just plan for
And
that.
if you drive a lot, maybe more.
Exactly. So that's what I usually do when just kind of going back to the emergency fund. I know for my wife and myself, medical expenses are X amount because I've been on medical aid for long enough to kind of see the pattern, and you can actually do that yourself. You go on your medical aid, draw your claim statement, and that gives you an idea of what your medical aid costs per year. So you can kind of budget that beforehand, right? And then just take that annual amount, split it up into 12, and that portion is what you allocate to your emergency fund. Once a year, you take your car in for a car service. It costs around about this, right? And then once every 5 years, you need to replace your tires. Cost around about that. Take that and then just cater for it. Don't let these things, oh no, all of a sudden I need to replace my tires. Listen, this didn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You're an adult now.
Yeah.
You have to understand these things need to happen.
Yeah.
So you can just plan around it. That's what I would recommend on the car. The thing about the financing of the car, right, is it all depends on your credit score and what the banks are going to give you. Most of the time, it's going to be prime plus something. So to answer your question, it's not going to be good debt, but it's not as bad as credit card debt.
And if it's something that like you need because you live far and you need to drive,
exactly.
So you need it, and you can't afford to buy a car brand new.
Yes, yeah.
Or you can't even afford to buy a second hand.
Yeah,
you have to take the finance. Then obviously, like that's a need.
You know? Yeah. So the big answer there would just be to kind of make sure it stays within the budget, and take a second-hand car and look at the brand that you're also taking. Listen, is this a unique car? Guess what? You're going to struggle with parts.
Unique parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My brother had a very cool Pajero, but a 1999 Pajero, right? And then he had street parking. So some other vagrant threw a rock through his window. But now, because they didn't make that window anymore, for 3 months, this man was with a plastic bag over his window because they couldn't find that's something you have to take into account as well.
I had the exact same thing. I had the Mercedes, the ML 500.
Yes.
They don't even make them anymore.
Yeah.
They smashed on my window as well. I had to wait like 2 months to get a window because they don't make that car anymore. So it's like we had to just like wait until they could find the thing, and then you pay crazy amount of money for a window that would cost like not as much if they had it, you know. Exactly. So now they have to like bring it in, and it's like a whole story. What's the biggest myth that you've heard, or the worst piece of financial advice you've heard, or like a myth, or like something that like you hear a lot that is like absolute bullshit?
Yeah. Okay.
Because from someone that doesn't understand like finance, the finance world, you know, I have an accountant. I trust his word. But I see a lot of shit online, you know, these guys that have like these really cool videos and like, let me tell you this and do that, you know, and like what's bullshit and what's not.
I think the biggest thing is basically, you see this all over online. Escape the rat race, escape the 8 to 5, you know, start your own thing, start your own business.
I think you know the video I'm talking about.
No, so everyone always tries to encourage you to kind of start a business and start your own thing. The big thing is you have to realize in life, what are you a specialist at? Are you a specialist or are you a generalist, right? It's very similar to kind of fighting. If you're a specialist in a certain category, go all into that, you know. If you're a great engineer, that doesn't mean you're going to be a great business person.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? If you have a passion for business, there's a lot of things you can figure it out and you can learn it, but you have to understand that your engineering qualification and skill is not going to be what carries you in business, right? So some people are phenomenal at being academics or whatever, and they're passionate about it. Don't feel like you have to start a business because some guy on the internet told you to start a business, you know? You can be very successful in life by actually just going through, whether you call it the corporate ladder or whatever, but staying in your specialized skill.
Like, using the specialized skill to create.
Yeah, but I mean, similar to fighters, right? Some guys are going to be great at Muay Thai. It doesn't mean that, your next step is you have to go into MMA.
Well, no, like, I mean, even you can put it even further than that. Like, you see it a lot. Guys are really, really good at martial arts, but they are fucking stupid at running a business. So they open a business and they're like basically bankrupt themselves because they don't understand that like running the business is a whole different skill to just teaching martial arts. It's like a whole nother thing, you know? And yeah, like me and Matt have had to learn that on the
Yeah.
fucking fly, dude.
Yeah.
We had to learn that shit because we
Yeah.
were like, oh, we're just gonna open this business, teach guys things,
Mm.
and you're like, actually no.
Yeah.
You need insurance now. You need
Mm.
to set up your business, so you're gonna need something like legal consultations. Someone's gonna try to sue you.
Yeah.
There's like all these things that are gonna fucking
Yeah.
happen, and
Yeah.
you gotta work
Yeah.
through it.
And guess what? There's no template for business.
No.
Yes, you can study MBA and all that, but usually the guys that study MBA, they know the risk of business so much that majority of those guys just end up taking a corporate
They
job
don't
as
take the
well.
risk. Yeah.
There's not a lot of guys that have an MBA that have their own business
Yeah.
because they realize, like, listen, it's a
It's
wild
risky,
thing.
bro.
Yeah. And we always have the joke where it says, like, as soon as you become a business owner, you trade your 8 to 5 for 5 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
You work a lot more. Sundays,
Yep.
guess what? You're working on the business
Uh-huh.
because there's also a difference between working in the business and working on the business. And you know this yourself. Sometimes when there's not coaching or any like business related things, you have to sort out the gym, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to wear so many different hats. So if you like problem solving and you like and you
busy.
find and you find with unexpected things coming up, right? And you're not gonna throw your toys out of the cart every time there's an unexpected problem, because guess what? With business, that's gonna be your day to day. Then business is for you. But if you don't really like that, it's fine. That doesn't mean you're not going to be a successful person. Maybe just business is not for you, because you have to be a generalist.
Yeah.
You have to be, I mean, I think you know this yourself. You now have to be HR. You know how to, you need to manage your employees, make sure everyone gets paid. You need to manage the books, right? And then you need to be a content creator as well. You have all these hats you have to wear as a business
Therapist.
owner. Exactly. Therapist as well. A big extent in my job as well, because
Yeah.
it's, you talk about finances, but a lot of these things
So
are
much
emotional.
emotion.
Yeah. So that's what you have to realize. Business isn't as easy as it seems, and by no means is that the only way to success. I think another thing is look at the skills and the competencies you've been given, right? If you, for example, you're an academic and you have a degree, great, that's already a solid foundation to start in. And you can go use that degree to get into wherever you need to get. If you've got a solid asset base, you know, maybe there's a trust fund or
Something's been
whatever.
left to you.
Exactly. Then you can start a property portfolio or something like that. But you can't have this dream of starting a property portfolio, but you can't even pay your rent.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're living month to month.
Exactly. Realistically, then you have to say that, listen, let me first get to a position where I get a certain amount, and then eventually you can get to that dream, but you're not going to jump in it directly.
Yeah.
So you maybe have to have a longer path than someone that has been blessed with some money being left to them. As you can eventually get there, but you just have to be realistic of how you get there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Very, very logical thing.
That's most of these things are, but people think emotional when it comes to finances.
Yeah. We don't want to say woman, but okay. So I got some rapid fire questions for you. Okay. Invest or spend?
Invest.
Coffee every day?
No.
Rolex?
When you can afford it.
Bitcoin?
Less than 5% of your portfolio.
Property?
Yes, if it doesn't constrain your cash flow.
Index funds?
Great start.
Luxury cars?
If you can buy cash.
Rent versus buy? Rent versus buy?
Depending on the area.
Travel?
Yes.
Best purchase under 5K?
Yes, what costs under 5K these days? Anything health related.
Worst financial decision you've made?
Yeah. No,
I know this. I feel like I know. Because we've spoken a few times. I feel like I know what this answer is. And I feel like this answer you don't want to say.
Let me put it like this. Worst financial decision, but best life decision.
Yes.
And I kind of didn't go into it blindly, right? I mean, there's certain things, that's where we get back to, and it's not going to be a rapid answer. There's certain things that you have to understand. I think it was what's the comedian, man? We both watch him. Jim, the British guy, uh,
Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr. You mentioned this. If you had to go to your older self when you're 60, right, and you ask what would that person give to be the age and as young as you are right now, that person would probably give everything that they
Yes.
own. So there's a balance in finance and in life. Certain things are absolutely priceless, and certain things you're only going to be able to do this time in
Very
your
good
life,
answer.
right? But so with that being said, you just have to understand. So you can't make every decision like that.
Yeah.
YOLO can't be the reason you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
all your financial decisions. So I mean, I got married last year, and it did cost a bit more. And all my clients I speak to, they come to me like they're like, "This is the wedding budget." I'm like, "Cool, it's all within your means." And then like a few weeks later, they're like, "Okay, so the budget has doubled." So it's not just me. All of us do the same thing, but I want to say I'm a bit more, I'm a financial advisor that's a bit more lenient to that, because you have to live as well.
It's a
I mean,
lifetime thing.
why are we here?
Yeah.
You know, you have to live as well. So sometimes these fixed
Sometimes
rules,
YOLO. Sometimes.
sometimes YOLO, and sometimes, you know, sometimes you can have that cheat meal, you know,
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't become a pattern,
The average.
you know, and yeah, exactly. As long as it doesn't become a pattern and you've got a clear way and a plan out. So to answer your question, worst financial decision, but best life decision is my wedding.
Very expensive wedding.
Very expensive wedding. Yeah.
Best investment. Not for you personally, just in general.
Retirement annuity.
A book everyone should read. I don't know if you read a lot.
Okay, if you're a business person, Good to Great. It
Mhm.
shows you how to take a good company to a great company. Certain fundamental rules there. Because a lot of people get stuck at good, so to get you through that plateau to the next level is a great book. I think in general, doesn't matter in what industry you are, and I mean it's a very common book. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. It does teach you a lot about how to present in business, it's kind of, it helps you a lot in sales.
Mhm.
So a lot of people in sales courses get kind of prescribed this book. But yeah, just I think not just in sales, just in general interactions, it's a great book to help you there.
Nice. Now, if people need financial advice, where can they find you? How do they contact you? And who should actually have a financial advisor?
Yeah, so I mean, how they can find me is they can just go to our website, www.tvc.co.za. We're independent advisors, and we have been from the start. So that's the big benefit. So I'm not there to, as I say in Afrikaans, smose 'n product. I'm not there to sell you products. You know, at the end of the day, I always say, what you want to look for in an advisor is to start with what your financial need is, and then what the solution is. And the product is kind of the last thing, you know. If you get to a financial advisor and they start to talk products immediately, unfortunately, the guys that are tied agents that work for like a big company, their remuneration is tied up into selling products. So the conversation starts there with
They're
like,
salesmen.
this is why this product is good for you. It's like, no, let's start with it. Sometimes I have 2-3 meetings with a client and we haven't talked about one single product, you know. So that's what you want to look for in a financial advisor. But things that you can do yourself before even needing a financial advisor is basically make sure you have control over your spending. Spend less than you earn. Make sure you get rid of your bad debts and build an emergency fund. Once you're in that position and you have your and you want to start optimizing your savings, being tax efficient with your investments, then I would say partner with a financial advisor. A unique benefit or a unique service that we offer is that when a new client comes through my door, I always say, like, listen, I want to be your finance guy. That's why we also don't just say yes to every single client. I'm not in the numbers game. I want to give a client the attention they deserve. I don't want to be like a doctor that every day patient in, patient out. I want to be able to, if a client needs to see me once a month, I can do that. So I always say I want to be a client's financial guy. So not just focusing on the financial products, but I can also help them with property. I've also got legal partners, so I can help them with that. I've also got accounting partners, so I can help them with that as well. So if you find an independent financial advisor that has these relationships, that would be a great start, because you want someone to give you advice holistically. They don't just want to look at, okay, cool, investments and just look at that. They have to understand you as a person. They have to understand, okay, you're a business person. This is your plan for your business. This is your plan for your family. And this is how your tax is currently structured. This is the legal agreements you have in place. Kind of look at the big picture and be able to give advice like that, not just look at this one single need. Because if you just look at it with, like, I want to say, a pipe vision on this single need, yeah, that might be appropriate, but as soon as you take the big picture into account, that advice might no longer be appropriate. So definitely partner with someone that can look at the big picture.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Roo, thank you so much for your time, Justin.
Shut. Thanks.
Appreciate your time. Thanks, dude.
Thanks.